Good morning, everybody. No, you guys have to be excited too, because I'm excited. The Thorns is excited. You got to be excited. No, it's such an opportunity for us an amazing opportunity to be here today, and for me to welcome our new head coach, Rhian Wilkinson. Ian with a R-H, right? Did I say it right?
Kind of.
Yes.
20 years.
20 years. But most importantly, an incredible person. I've known her for many years, as I just mentioned, from playing with her. But I think it's a perfect fit for this organization of where we want to go and what we want to do and be the global standard of professionalism in the game. But most importantly, you have a coach who's played, let me get this right, 4 World Cups, 3 Olympics, with coaching 5 World Cups.
Yep.
The resume goes on. What she's done, been able to do as a coach and as a human being, makes her the perfect fit. She didn't want me to make it awkward where I introduce her and make her speak to you before you ask questions, but this is what I love to do. I love making her uncomfortable with the uncomfortable. So, Rhi, can you just talk a little bit about, I think everybody knows your excitement, but in this moment, what it means to be the head coach of this amazing organization?
Yeah. Well, thanks, Karina. Thank you for the intro, and thank you all for being here. This is the first in-person press conference I've had for a while. I don't know about you guys, but it's great to see the amazing support that this team has, and it's definitely one of the reasons I would imagine any available coach was interviewing for this incredible role. To call it a privilege is probably an understatement, and to say I'm excited is also an understatement. This is the job in the women's game, and to have this opportunity is a dream come true. And I'm really looking forward to getting going, working with this amazing staff and organization, and bring on next season.
All right. We'll start with questions in the room. Nick, you want to go ahead?
Nick Krupke from KPTV in Portland. You guys have such a great background together. How does that pairing already, you've got a couple decades into it, that your boss, your coach, your team from the start?
Yeah, I think when you saw us walk in, you saw Karina and her energy and her pink trench coat, and you can probably pretty quickly tell that we're very good friends, but we're also very different people. That's the blessing that is a team sport. There's a lot of different characters that end up playing together and having to work together. Karina and I started playing together as teenagers. We grew up together. And as any good siblings, we've had our fights and our disagreements, and we know how to work together through hard times as well as good times. So, yeah, having her as my boss is a reality. She was a goalkeeper. She was everyone's boss at all times. But we also knew that was going to be something that was going to be asked, and we're aware that hard conversations are going to be needed throughout the season, and that I'm here to do a job, and I need to be successful at that job, and she's here to make this organization better. So yeah, we're clear on that from the start.
I'd just add that club first. I think it was a dream job for me to come into. It was a dream job for her. I think the experience that we have allows us, like Rhian said, to have the hard conversations, but most importantly, it's the Portland Thorns first. And coming into this whole equation, I think the process, hopefully you all know about it, it was a long process. It wasn't me hiring a friend. It started about a month and a half before I got here. It started with the club going through, having vetted, the players were involved, the entire organization was involved, the tech staff was involved, and by the time I got in, it was down to the final 3. And everybody had agreed that she was the right fit. And she was the right fit because she'd earned it, and I think you said that in your press release. She felt she earned it, and she had earned it. So the relationship we have, I think what it helps is that we can have those hard conversations, because we've had hard conversations June World Cup finals. We've had hard conversations June Olympics. Trust me, as goalkeeper defender, we didn't always get along. But I think it's very easy for us to be connected on something greater than ourselves, and that is what we're connected on. Making this organization better than it's always been, and it's already a top organization. But I think what you'll see from her is the honesty, the value, the ability to get the best out of players, and many other things. But most importantly, one thing you can know for sure is that it will always be club first, and you have 2 people who know how to put something ahead of themselves.
Other questions, Joe? Joe Becker from K2. First, welcome to Portland.
Thank you, Joe.
Welcome back, I should say. You've been coaching for a long time. This team has been so successful. What's your biggest challenge you think to taking over?
Yeah, thank you. And I think it's a good question. I'd say there's two. And one is that Mark has done a phenomenal job here. He and his staff have created a winning team, a winning culture. And he's left to go on a new adventure, and he's left me an incredible opportunity. But of course, he's massively missed by the players and the staff. So part of that is me earning their trust and earning their respect. I think another piece, and a piece that I want to mention, is there's a real bias towards female coaches that I think the players have as well. And that's because there haven't been many of us. So Mark, in all his success, he had a few years in the NWSL and came in and look at the impact he had on this club. I started coaching before I retired. I went to England. I've coached at every single youth level. I think I'm 4 years older than him, but straight away, because I'm female, I think that there's this piece where people doubt your understanding of the game. There's just a piece, and it's internalized. I don't even think people recognize it. So for the players, for the staff, it's making sure they understand I know what I'm talking about. I haven't just landed this role because we need women straight away. That's why I've said I've earned it. I haven't come out of nowhere. I've earned my stripes as a player, but also as a coach. I've done my due diligence. I've put in the work, and now it's making sure that people see that. And that I have to earn it. I still have to earn it every single day, just like Mark did, just like every coach does, but making sure it's not gendered. Yeah, you're welcome.
Go ahead. Rhian, along those same lines, and also Karina, there's a lot of coaching vacancies right now in the NWSL. How does, you've had a great rise in the coaching ranks, but how do women get more opportunities as coaches? How does that happen? And, what do you think it's going to take, like internationally?
Well, there was a lot in that question. I'd say just to quickly speak, the NWSL is going through a pretty momentous moment, and I'm proud to be a part of that moment. And I'm part of a club that is taking it very seriously and wants to promote the Thorns and make sure that our players are looked after, and that people that have, again, earned the right to be sitting in these chairs happen to be female, but not because we're female. In terms of females in coaching, I do think people need to recognize their own internal biases. It's the same thing across the world. It's just hard to get your foot in the door. It's hard to get on coaching courses. I continue to be the only female on a lot of the coaching courses I take through my UEFA badges, and that's if I get on it, because it's just not valued the same way. So again, to be part of a club like this who is recognizing ability and giving opportunity it's special, and I'm so proud to be here and to be an example, I hope, to a lot of those women in the locker room who want to continue in the game, be it as a coach, be it as a medical practitioner, be it as a GM, whatever their role, there's a place for them in the game. Or as you guys are here, journalists as well. There's a lot of roles in the game that shouldn't be gendered and still are in many ways.
I think. Oh, sorry. I would just add to that and say I think we all play a role. We've been in this game, I don't want to age ourselves, but for many years, as players where we wanted to help inspire the next generation, and you have to see it to believe it. She wasn't hired because she was a woman. She was hired because she was the best qualified. Now the fact that she's a woman, we now get to be part of the organization. We've said it before. The Thorns have been, we would say even coming into, the best in the world at so many things. Now we get to be best in the world and saying, like, look at what we're doing. And for that next generation of young girls, be like, what do I want to be when I want to grow up? Coach, GM, it's there. This organization stands for so many things, and now we get to stand for that as well. So seeing it to believe it, the players now have that pathway so they can be like, okay, I want to be a coach or I want to be a GM. But that next generation of the players in the stands, the young girls, they're going to come and get everything when they come to our games. And I think that's what's exciting. So to answer your question, see to believe it, see it, believe it.
Go ahead, Paul.
Hi, Paul.
When did you want to become a coach? When and why? coaching become your thing?
Yeah, thanks. It's a good question, and I answer this one honestly when I'm asked, and I never wanted to be a coach. I really didn't. I had a career in the game, and I felt like I was being pigeonholed. Like, people only ever spoke to me about soccer or sports, and I felt like there was so much more to me. So both my parents were English professors. I really enjoy that education piece. So what I would say is I said yes to opportunity. So actually, when I was here as a player, I got injured. I used that time to go get my UEFA B badge because I was given that opportunity, and I said yes. John Herdman, who was our coach at the time, saw that I was getting my badges, so he gave me an opportunity to be the assistant coach for the under-20 Canadian team at the time. And I really realized that it was teaching. Coaching is teaching, and I fell in love with that piece of the game. I do love the game. It's been a huge part of my life, but understanding that I wanted to be a coach came later, recognizing that coaching, it's such an interesting role. It's the teaching element on the field. It's the human relationships with the players as they become women. Some of them are very, very young. They mature through your team. Now we've got these wonderful advocates of the game that are graduating out, like an Ange Salem that we've all talked about. Like, can't wait to see what she does. So it was a slow burn, but then when I recognized what I could do in it, I just fell in love. And especially, it's still team. This staffing team that I get to be a part of is really the beauty of it. That's what I like coming to work to do, is the collaboration piece, working together in a game I love, and hopefully, like Karina said, promoting it to those that haven't been given the same opportunities that I have.
Margaret, go ahead.
Margaret Seiler, Portland Monthly. Thank you for the time here. I'm curious, besides the job and the game and the organization, what are you excited about Portland, about being here or being back here? And then an unrelated follow-up. Are you the harbingers of some sort of Canadian takeover?
Of course. I thought that was subtle.
No, yeah. We wanted to have maple syrup out here. No, you go. You got this.
Yeah, we both played in Portland. This is a special city. The fans are the best in the world. You talked about the club. Of course, it's an incredible club to be a part of, but this is a wonderful city. I moved from Montreal to Vancouver a few years ago. The West Coast has my heart. Little less rain would be nice, but I think we all feel the same way. It's a wonderful place to be a part of. The city, the organization, but the people here as well. I think that's important. Where you're from dictates a lot of what the people are like, and I've only ever been welcomed and felt like this was a home for me. And as you said, I'm Canadian, so is Karina. We knew this sort of question would come. It's something that I joke about. You know, I was interviewed for a month and a half before Karina came on board, and I was thrilled for my friend and devastated for me, because I was like, well, now there's no way that I'll get hired. But, you know, as she said, like, it was a process that, you know, one day I had 9 interviews with different staff members around the organization. It was a very thorough vetting on both sides, which I'm so proud of, because it should be. It should work as the right fit from the coaching side as well as the club side, the two fitting together. The fact that I'm Canadian and Karina's Canadian, I have to say, is a testament to John Herdman, to Kenneth Heinermuller, the coaches that we had, or that I had. And I haven't asked Karina permission, but the 2012 team, where Canada unexpectedly won bronze, was because of a culture that was created there under John's tutelage, and the mentorship piece. And we've talked about the mentorship, that these players that we invest in, that we bring through, that we develop, and then they go and start their real lives. I'm so against using terms like that, because the roles and opportunities within the game are everywhere, and John opened our eyes to that. The incredible woman beside me, her energy that is second to none and exhausting. And, you know, Karina is a force to be reckoned with and creates change everywhere she goes. Well, John recognized that in his player that was an international goalkeeper. He saw more in her than just a player. You know, those players that, I think there were 21 on that team, only 2 are no longer in sport. Only 2. they're in all different versions of the game. They're all doing incredibly different things, but they're promoting the game we loved, and that's what we want to see. And that's, I think, more why you see 2 Canadians here and why you see a lot of our 2012 teammates, Carmelina in Denmark, Lauren Sesselman down in California. You've got Kaylin Kyle on the commentary. You've got Janelle Foligno doing Adidas stuff with soccer. I mean, it's everywhere. I'm missing so many teammates. Sorry, Robin Gale working with the Canadian men right now. It's everywhere, and it's a real testament to what happens when a coach sees more than just a player.
All right, we're going to switch and take some questions from Zoom online.
Yeah,
so Jill, if you want to go ahead and we'll go into questions on Zoom.
Thanks, Katie. Hi, everyone. Just in case you couldn't hear her, we will be taking Zoom questions now. So if you are online watching and you have a question, use the raise hand feature, and we will hopefully get to your question. Can you guys hear me okay?
Can't see you, but woo!
Great. Hopefully you can hear our guests as well. If you can't, Katie will let us know, and then we'll take it as a write-in question if we have any issues with that. We will start questions off with Grant Little from Stumptown Footy.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi, Grant.
How are you doing?
Fantastic.
Awesome. I have a question for Rhian. In the video that the Thorns posted on social media, you talked a little bit about not changing everything because the Thorns have had success. You said you liked their willingness to win the ball back quickly, but there were some structural things you wanted to change. Can you expand on that a little bit and maybe give us some insight into your coaching philosophy and ideal style of play?
Yeah, thanks for the question. The soccer question's always a lot of fun. Absolutely a testament. Again, I keep mentioning Mark. I think it's important to do that. He's done a wonderful job here, and so has his staff. I love their willingness to win the ball back. I love their will to live on the ball in a league that is very transitional. That is a structural piece. I think there's a time to live on it a little bit more. But in terms of what's already being done here, this book does not need to be rewritten. There are absolutely things I want to change and bring in my own style and personality to what this team's going to be doing. An easy example would be using a bit more width in the build-up, but with the level and caliber of players that are here and that are already performing, you have to appreciate what Mark did playing through the middle with these incredible athletes turning and being dangerous often in games. So keeping a lot of that engine to defend is critical to my success next season. I've got to keep that.
Who would you say are your greatest coaching influences? You said you didn't, seek to get into coaching, but you had to be inspired and mentored along the way. And along that front, what have you taken away from them, and what will you carry into your own coaching?
Yeah, I think I'll do the more global answer first, which is every single coach I've had, I've learned from. I've been really fortunate in that. I've already mentioned John Herdman. I think he was the most influential coach I've had. And then my last coach, Kennett, he really helped bridge the gap between sort of the tactical mastermind that is a John Herdman with the human side, that real connection with people first in order to get the best out of them. So I had a really fantastic mentorship piece from player into coach through John and Kennett. But I mean, in all honesty, I've had some incredible coaches, from my university coach at Tennessee, who's at Texas now, to my youth coaches. I was one of the lucky few who grew up with a coach who just helped me fall in love with the game, which is why I stayed in it. So I've been lucky throughout my career with the coaches I've had.
Can I just add something? She'll never talk about herself. I think one of the things that Rhian will do is she talks about the influences of these coaches. But with the Thorns, we want to create great players, but great people. And I think with her assets and her tools, that's what you'll see out of the players that play for her. They'll become phenomenal players, but at the end of the day, they'll also continue in their growth to becoming phenomenal people. And I think that's what coaches are. They're the caretakers of the dreams of these players, and she will bring the best out of players. And that's one thing I can say I know she will do. She would never say that about herself.
Okay, our first question in the chat is from Joe Rainieri. He wants to know from Rhian why Portland was so appealing for a coaching job.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, there's the obvious, which is the incredible support for the club that we have here in the city. I've already mentioned the city itself, which I loved living in when I was a player, but also the players themselves and the staff that has been gathered and put together by the club. We've got top people working for this club that are now working with me to make sure that our players have everything they need to deliver on the field. So lots of reasons why this is the top job for any coach in the world.
Thank you. Our next question is from Meg Linehan. She wants to ask you guys about your entry into the league right ahead of the expansion draft and the trade window, and how they're approaching a time of roster reset across the NWSL.
Thanks, Meg. I think it's such an exciting time for the league. Having 2 teams come in, it makes it challenging for us because I think we have such a deep roster, and it makes it. We wish we could keep every single player, but with the expansion teams, we know that we could possibly lose a couple players. We've been working hard at it. I think we just had like an 8-hour meeting yesterday. This is something we take pride in with the organization, the players here, the people here, but we can't keep them all. So the trade window did open yesterday. So this week's an interesting time. Lots of movements. You saw it today with Sam Ewis. There probably will be more before the end of the week. But from our perspective, it's trying to do our best to keep this core group together. I mean, this team, especially with us having the season-ending meetings, the 2 of us sat in with the team, with each player. We got to know each of the players. They're phenomenal people first. And so our job is to try to keep them here as much as we can, but there will be changes, as we all know. So it's a tough first week into our first trade week, but I think this is where our past relationship helps, because we can have those honest conversations and work with the rest of the organization to make sure we move forward from the greatness that's already here, and I think it's a collective thing. I mean, there's a few of us in the room yesterday, but all we can say is that we're going to do our best to keep this group together.
Yeah, I just want to sum that. We're going to lose some good players. It's impossible not to. This is a wonderful team. We'll do whatever we can to try and keep it intact, but it's great that our league is expanding. We get San Diego and LA coming in, which is fantastic for the league, but for us, it's going to be really hard to keep this team intact, but we'll do whatever we can and push each other to make sure we're doing the best possible for the club.
All right, from Sandra Krusina of City News in Canada. She said, Karina, Rhian, it would be remiss to ignore the importance of this for Canadian soccer. You touched on it earlier. You are part of a team that changed the sport in our country on the pitch, and now you've moved into off-field roles. What are your feelings on this watershed moment to have a Canadian, both as a head coach and as a general manager?
Cue the tears. I don't even know if we've allowed ourselves to think of that moment. So thank you for that. I think, as Rhian said, we've always known that we wanted to stay in this game, playing for a country. We wanted to inspire the next generation to be the best version of themselves through the sport. And we're just living out our dreams doing that. And it happens that we are getting to do this chapter together. It happens that we're both Canadians. When you say it that way, it's a powerful moment. I think at the end of the day, I think it's my responsibility personally to give back to the game that's given me so much. And just as with you and the fact that we're Canadian, that's pretty special. But, this is the Thorns, and this is a club we both played for. It was the best years of our lives and professional careers, I can say, for me. And it's just an absolute honor. So this moment is special. We'll take our picture. Our parents are probably at home crying. I know mine. You're not. Mine are. But it's special. I think the biggest thing, though, is that we hope that everyone watching sees this opportunity in them for this in themselves. Whether it's the next generation, you all out here, it's just a testament of what soccer players can do, female soccer players can do, and that's why we hope to do big things. And yeah, great moment. Hadn't thought about it like that. So
no, but I'll say something much more controversial. I'm so proud to be here. This is the club I want to be at. Canada needs a professional league. It's embarrassing, frankly, and they've just won the gold. This, as I've mentioned, is the dream job. This is where I want to be. But I also recognize I could not work in Canada if I wanted to. And the same for our players. So Canadians have to leave the country if they want to continue in the sport they love. And if soccer's not leading the way, what happens to our volleyball players, our swimmers, our field hockey players? It's a bit embarrassing. So I know that's controversial, but I also think it needs to be said that it's been talked about for too long, and action's needed in our home country. And we're very glad that here in the U.S. and at this club, there's somewhere for us to keep practicing the game we love and to give opportunity to the young women coming after us.
Great, thank you. Our next question is from Joe Freeman. It's for Karina. He said, you've said a couple of times that Rhian will bring the best out of her players. Can you share an example of why you believe this, perhaps from your time playing together?
Sure. Her as a human being, I think she was the moral compass. Well, I know she was the moral compass on the team. She would always be that line in the sand. She would always say what's right for the team, and you always knew what you were going to get out of her. I think as a human being, when we think of all of our personal lives and anyone who's ever played for her, she has this ability to say things, or on your birthday, write a card that you sit there and you weep over because she sees you. And I think to play for a coach, I've played for many coaches, and when you can play for a coach that sees you as a human being beyond just the sport, that helps you rise to a whole different level. And I think if anybody has ever had a boss that you walk into a room and you're like, hey, today I'm going to feel seen and heard, and I'm going to be challenged to get the best out of me. I think that's the environment that I know she'll bring. So as a player, as a goalkeeper, I'd yell at her 2 words. If she didn't listen, she'd yell back. But at the end of the day, we were able to do what's best, walk off the field, and still be good people. And I can say as a coach, I know she will help players feel seen and heard. And I think everybody coming out of this pandemic, you figured out some things about yourself, and I think everybody wants to feel valued. And when you feel valued, you can do things you've never done before. So I think that's what I mean by that. She gets so awkward when I talk about her. So any more questions for me to talk about her? Because this is fun.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karina. We have time for 4 more questions, so I won't be taking any more submissions. Thank you all for helping and being easy to work with this chat. Our next question is from Dan Laletta. It was Mark Parsons consulted at all during the hiring process?
Consulted or insulted?
Consulted.
Oh.
Consulted.
Yeah.
There goes the niceties.
Yeah, he absolutely was. I think I know I had a long conversation with him, and by the time I came in, like we said, that the entire technical staff had, like she said, she had 9 interviews in one day. And she was his pick. I don't know if I was allowed to say that, but when I say everybody had chosen this person, everyone chose this person, because the process, I think what you see is her, being this way, but she puts so much time and work into everything. And some interviews went an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours. And I think in that time, everybody knew from her answers and getting to know who she is that this is the right fit. So Mark absolutely was a part of the process. He still is. I just WhatsApped him right before this. We all have meetings, and I think that's where we talk about this transition. It's not out with the old, in with the new. It's us working together, connecting on how do we make this club that's already phenomenal, take it to the next level. And Mark's been so supportive of this, and you've had many conversations with him too. So, he might even be watching this right now. Hi, Mark. But yeah.
Yeah, I just, this is part of Mark's legacy, this team, and he loves it here. He loves the people. He loves this team. And I know he was a part of the interview process because he really believed in trying to get someone who was going to be following his vision. So I was very, very glad to get to speak to him a number of times, but also to have his support and help in the transition into this new role, which a lot of coaches don't get. So a real privilege for me.
Right, next question is from Steph Young of The Athletic. She said, hello from Boston, Rhian and Karina. You're coming to this as former players, maybe a different perspective than many coaches this league has had because of the league has finally survived long enough for players to become coaches. In all the reporting that has come out this season, we've seen an important piece in dealing with abuse and creating a healthy culture is peer feedback. For example, coaches speaking to coaches. As players now in positions of power, as peers, what conversations do you think is important to have in your peer group in the league to move the league's culture forward?
You go first.
Yeah, I think Amy Lepelbit was interim coach after being a player, but it's just starting really, these opportunities for players. And I love how you worded that, which is, again, I'm looking up like this, this voice from above. But I think the league has lived long enough that now former players can come into these positions, and that's a wonderful way to look at it. And again, an exciting moment. A lot is happening, I think, for the good. The transparency, the power dynamics. I've worked in Canada, I've worked in England. The stuff that's happening here is happening everywhere, and it's not good. It needs to be cleaned up, and I love that I get to be a part of an organization that's going to be a forerunner in that. You know, Karina and I did a lot of due diligence work before coming on board and recognizing that this is a club that's going to do things properly, which is why I want to be here, so that we can be an example for not just the league, but for the rest of the sporting world, boys and girls, men and women. But the peer-to-peer conversations is important. You talk about a GM, this is my boss here. You know, we're going to have frank conversations, and she's going to have them with me, and that's just within this organization. Then we talk about, you know, Jill Ellis, who's now there, Annie Luco, like all these women that we've grown up playing the game with, and now are in these you know, roles of power, making sure that we're keeping the conversation alive and making sure we're doing the right things for the game at every turn.
Yeah, I would just add that, you know, we have had this discussion of sitting down even with the players at the end of the season and being like, we've been in your shoes. We know what it's like to sit after a tough loss. We know what it's like to sit after a hard season. And I think that's one of the things we're owning as we move forward, is that we've been players. We've had our heart break when leagues folded. We felt like we're living the best dream in this organization. So we know the other side, and I think what we're doing is we're honoring that aspect of our chapter in our lives and bringing it to the conversation and table. And the conversations with our peers have been good and bad, but at the end of the day, I think everyone who looks at us or any of the former players or people who've been in this league know that it's with the best intention, right? And I think we've had a lot of learnings this year. And I think we've paused, we've listened, we've done the right things, and we want to move forward. And like Rhian said, we've done our due diligence to be here. I think both of our reputations speak for the fact that we are here to do things and help make things better. And we don't mean like in this organization, but globally. And we're committed to that. And Rhian said we want the Thorns to be that example. And I think these are the conversations we've had with ownership. You know, we're here because everybody's on the same page. Everybody wants to make this name, the players, the organization, the fans, the community, everybody connected in knowing that we want to be that standard. And it takes all of us. It takes all of you as well. You know, what you write is part of this conversation and us moving forward. We had this conversation during my press conference. It's your words that help build this league to that next level. So we've been there in the past. We want to own our stories and move forward in the future, but then also not shy away from the hurt and all that stuff that's come with it. So yeah, we're going to own that, and hopefully that's part of the conversation, how we move forward and take this league, this organization, this game globally to a new level.
Our next question is from Caitlin Best for Rhian. She said, the flip side of this being a sought-after job in the NWSL is that it's a very hard job because expectations are so high, especially succeeding a coach who won 2 Shields and a championship. Is that challenge intimidating or exciting?
I think it's exciting. I mean, of course, you're coming into a winning program that's you know, hard to follow up what Mark's done, but wouldn't you rather come into an organization like this than someone who's last and there's disruption everywhere in the locker room. I think it's, like I said, this is really a dream job. This is a team that likes each other, a strong culture, a winning culture, a high-performance culture, and a staff that's exactly the same. So, no, I don't find it intimidating at all. I find it really exciting, and I mean that genuinely. Like, this is just the perfect opportunity to walk into and to get to lead.
Right, and our last question is from Olivier Tremblay. I'm so sorry if I mispronounced that. It's a beautiful name. From Radio Canada. It's for Rhian, and she specifically asked if you could answer in French. Did the head coaching opportunity come earlier than she expected when she left for England less than a year ago?
Bonjour Olivier. Non, c'était toujours c'était 6 mois en Angleterre, mon contrat. Alors, après les Olympiques en Tokyo, je savais que j'aurais trouvé une autre forme de travail. Il y avait beaucoup de positions ouvertes ici dans le NWSL. J'ai fait beaucoup d'entrevues. C'était toujours mon ambition de travailler comme entraîneur ici, aux États-Unis. Alors, non, c'est pas venu trop vite. C'était absolument parfait moment pour moi. Et vraiment, c'est une opportunité que je suis heureuse d'avoir et je souhaite bientôt que le Montréal va avoir une équipe féminine et des opportunités là-bas pour nos entraîneurs chez nous d'avoir des opportunités. Merci.
All right, thank you. If it's good with Katie in the room, I think we will wrap it there, at least on the Zoom side of things. Katie, are you all set?
Yep. Does anyone have any last follow-up?
I just have one.
Yep. Go ahead, Andy.
Rhian, you, on a more personal note, you're a knitter, right?
Yeah. Thanks, Karina.
Which is cool. I'm a knitter too. But I'm kind of curious. You know, you've had 181 caps with the team, and then the coaching. Is there any moment in your career that is your favorite moment? And is there like anything that sticks out to you as something that was just special to you over the course of your career?
Yeah, when I'm asked that question, I'm not sure how that ties into my knitting. I think you're just throwing that in there. That's because I can't sit still is why I started knitting. So then I could watch television without guilt because I would produce something unwearable by the end of it. Yeah, the 2012 Olympic bronze, I always mention it because it came out of nowhere. The year before, we were last in the World Cup. You know, we lost to Nigeria, we lost to France. Oh, who else did we lose to? Everyone.
Germany.
Oh, yeah, well, Germany. And then we had a coaching change, and this is no slight on the coach we had at that World Cup, but it is talking about the power of what leadership can give and the belief in self. The team did not change. The same people that lost in that World Cup won the bronze in 2012. And if you watch that game, you'd say France were very unlucky. I think it was like 38 shots to 2, and we won. That is the game. I'd say the best team won on that game, on that day. No one ever quit on each other. You know, I remember Desi Scott sort of like crawling by me at one point, and I think Carmelina Moscato was holding me up, and we just never quit on one another. And that is the beauty of the game, that it's not always the best technical, tactical team that wins. So you then have to value culture. You have to value the intangibles that it takes to become a winning team. And that's what I learned there in that moment. And I think someone said, oh, dreams do come true. We hadn't dreamed about that. What absolute rubbish. I mean, we never got anywhere near dreaming about an Olympic medal. We were so far off of it. And then all of a sudden, we woke up the next morning with this bronze in our hand, and the Canadian public waking up and realizing that these women had been doing everything and living abroad, you know, living together for months on end to try and create a moment in Canadian sport. And now we see that legacy piece that we've talked about, that Karina just talked about, coming to fruition with a gold. And that's in a country with no league and no professional opportunity. So I always talk about that because I do think it was for our country, but also here it's an example of what sport can be and what it can give in real can't even think of the word, but real, like, changing of momentum and opportunity for girls in sport, not just soccer. So that was, I'll never ever forget that moment.
Just
Sorry.
a follow-up really quick. Was it weird to be on the staff of Team GB while Canada won the gold? Were you there? Were you able to see it? Were you able to celebrate?
Well, we played them,
right.
So it was time for me to leave Canada, and that's something that people don't really talk about. There's a time, like, Mark left this team, not because there was anything negative or bad. It was just time, and that is the reality of coaching. It's not a long-term permanent position, and it shouldn't be, because we all have a different eye for the team and the type of player we look for. So for me, it was time to leave Canada. I really believe that GB team underperformed. They were so good. They really should have been on the podium. And that Canadian team again showed what heart, determination, and culture can do. And I was crying with the rest of Canadians when they won, because as soon as we were eliminated, I then could be a fan of the game and watch our friends and sisters again change sport in Canada. So a pretty special moment.
We'll wrap with Paul if you had one last question.
Yeah, I'm just curious about staffing. You know, when you didn't staff.
Yeah, so Rich Gunny's just left, who is assistant. He was a wonderful part of the staff. He gave everything to this program. And again, just like I spoke about, I think there comes a time where people need change, and that was unfortunately for me, because Gunny has chosen to leave, but on the best of terms. So there is an assistant coach position that's available that we're looking into, where this, again, is the dream job. So there's no hurried decisions need to be made. We need to find the right person and the right fit for this club. It's really important we do that. So we're behind the scenes making sure we find the right person, and then that will finalize my staff.
All right, we'll wrap on that question there. Rhian and Karina, if you just want to join us right here in front of the stage, we'll just get a quick.
Can we just say one thing quick? I think it's important. Like, as you see this, it's a testament to this whole organization, right? And I think I want to acknowledge from top down, from Merit all the way down to the person who maybe picks up and cleans this area. I think what this organization is doing is we want to be global leaders, and I want to thank you all for coming, because you're going to be writing the words as we go on this journey. You're part of this journey with us. We're one big family, and this is what we said from the beginning. This may be our two roles, but it's the players, it's the fans, it's the community, it's you. And we will hope to do things in this city that have never been done before, and connecting everybody together like it's never been connected before. So write what you want to write, but please, this league is so important. And when Rhian was talking about 2012 team, this is the type of league that allows players to have those dreams. And this league is so important in the journey. You're so important, but most importantly, write good things so that we can go, woo!
Do what you want. Write good things.
Write good things about her so she's embarrassed, okay? But no, most importantly, I know the season doesn't start and we're going to go through some transitions, but just be mindful that you're part of this with us. We're open, here for you, but most importantly, we're doing this together. All right?
Awesome.